But there is no denying that we have in our history as a nation racism, and that racism has played.
Do you think that race plays a part in wealth distribution, or either a mindset that you can't or
Today?
cannot? Yeah.
No,
You don't?
no, I don't. You and I, we're proof. Why would race have anything to do with it? It's a good excuse for not getting there.
These extremists, as they say, they not like us.
They not.
There's a full-on attack on our fundamental freedoms. The freedom to vote.
Yep.
The freedom to love who you love.
Well, every time that someone tried to interject the truth about Kamala, which is that she slept her way to the top, it's a fact. She was with some 6-year-old man, got her start in the political career, and they would go, oh my gosh, how dare you say this?
Why is Morgan Freeman, a wise and reasonable figure in Hollywood, so afraid of Kamala Harris? He has always been outspoken about his views on politics and race. From her contentious ascent to fame to her close ties to the political elite, Kamala Harris's life has been anything but typical. So what about her worries Freeman so much? Let's explore. Morgan Freeman is no stranger to controversy, especially in regards to his political and racial views.
We have a much more vibrant society when we don't have such a vast chasm between the haves and the have-nots.
Freeman, who is renowned for his frank critique of the woke mindset, has frequently disagreed with the dominant narrative.
Do you think that race plays a part in wealth distribution, or either a mindset that you can't or
Today?
cannot? Yeah.
No,
You don't?
no, I don't. You and I, we're proof. Why would race have anything to do with it?
Additionally, during an open discussion with the Sunday Times, Freeman didn't hesitate to share his doubts about Black History Month, calling it an insult and questioning the sense of reducing a whole historical period to a single month of commemoration. Reducing my past to only 1 month is offensive, he said, his voice full of doubt. Freeman's point is evident: condensing centuries' worth of Black history struggles and achievements into a short period of time seems to trivialize the significance of the subject. However, Freeman's commentary didn't stop there. He turned his attention to the term African American, which has come to be linked with Black people in the United States. With his characteristic directness, he rejected the idea and discussed aloud the evolution of labels used to describe Black people, naming terms that were once highly disparaging to the presently accepted African American. Freeman questioned the current quo, arguing that the widespread usage of the term might actually hide a lack of a more thorough comprehension of its ramifications. The famous actor took advantage of the chance to draw attention to an apparent contradiction. While people don't refer to people of European descent as Euro-Americans, they easily adopt similar labels for other backgrounds. Freeman skillfully undermined the case by pointing out that this clever observation highlights his view that the focus on racial categorizations can unintentionally perpetuate divisions, currently sharing the screen with the highly anticipated movie stars Florence Pugh, who is a talented person. Surprisingly, Freeman has been vocal about these problems for almost 20 years. In 2005, he called the yearly Black History Month celebration in the United States ridiculous. Over time, it seems that his opinions have only gotten more extreme. One of the most powerful examples of Freeman's consistency is his famous 60 Minutes chat with journalist Mike Wallace. In this conversation, a time capsule of Freeman's audacity resurfaces to haunt conventional wisdom. The actor's audacious comments forced Wallace to reevaluate his stance on racial distinctions. Freeman raised the topic, arguing that if Black History Month could be established, then a White History Month must also be valid.
You're going to relegate my history to a month? Oh, come on. What do you do with yours? Which month is White History?
This was a masterful move that exposed the differences in the treatment of people with different racial histories. In addition to questioning labels and holidays, Freeman's campaign offered a provocative strategy for ending racism, a plan that is as outlandish as it is compelling, and encouraged people to stop talking about it. Freeman argues that the constant discussion of race merely serves to reinforce the divides it is meant to heal.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it.
Fans praised Freeman for his wise words at the time, stating that he was not saying racism didn't exist, but rather that we should stop calling each other black and white and start talking about who we are as people rather than just what race we are and the stereotypes that go along with it. He suggested that in order to move past racism, we must give up the divisive labels and start having talks that go beyond racial distinctions. Another fan discussed how rich people take advantage of racism, and while he is correct, some politicians will never stop discussing it because, as long as they can persuade people that there is an issue, they can also persuade them to pay them to solve it. Freeman's viewpoint is obvious. He opposes the idea of black victimhood and believes in personal accountability. As a result, he differs with a number of left-wing Democrats, including Kamala Harris. One of the most famous arguments happened when Freeman was asked to watch the most progressive TV show.
I saw my first movie when I was like 6 years old. It was King Kong.
The Oscar winner Morgan Freeman's interview abruptly ended last year when he was only given 6.5 minutes to talk. The actor appeared on the ABC morning show on October 25th to talk about his Netflix documentary series Life on Our Planet. This infuriated a lot of people. Morgan Freeman addressed the co-host of The View, looking them in the eye, and stated, "The apocalypse is coming. I am one of those people who is very interested in this subject of life on the planet. I understand that today life on the planet is in a little bit of trouble, and we're the cause of it." He was referring to climate change. If my memory serves me right, there have been 6 extinction-level events on the planet since life began. These are not events involving human life, rather, they involve big portions of life that have been destroyed, and we're headed for another one. Scientists have warned that if we don't act quickly and change our ways, there will be a cataclysmic event that will wipe many of us off the face of Earth. Because life is tenacious, we're not talking about human life here, we're talking about the planet. Doom questioned how long ago life started on this planet and why it continues to exist. She will stay obviously disturbed. Bahar said that if we take action to reduce the human-caused climate problem and leave the world alone, it will persevere. She responded, "I hope it's not too late since the disruption of all of that is what's causing all of the issues." When Whoopi gave the signal to stop the show, the producers broke off this talk.
I had a question, but we run out of time. Listen, this is extraordinary, this document.
Longtime viewers didn't agree with Morgan's decision to leave The View earlier than perhaps expected, and they even went so far as to criticize the show online for allowing the segment to end so abruptly. One fan wrote, "You have all the time in the world to let Joy ramble on with her hate-filled diatribes, but not enough time to let a great, upstanding man like Morgan Freeman speak." Another added, "You need to invite this legend back ASAP." A third fan wrote, "What the F is going on with this show? They have one of the most skilled and iconic actors of our time, and they only give him a 5-minute segment and cut him off after 5 minutes. They have plenty of segments with Kardashians or some other Z reality star that nobody cares about, and they give them segments that are 1:15:15:15 minutes long previously. 6 minutes is not nearly long enough. He gets at least half an episode." Protesters interrupted Senator Ted Cruz's live interview on The View to criticize its parent network, Network ABC, for its coverage of environmental problems. The View also had its own mini-apocalyptic event.
Inflation in the United States has one cause and one cause only, and that is when the federal government...
Conservative panelist Alyssa Farah Griffin stated, "We do cover climate here, guys," following a group of audience members who got up to yell at Cruz. The co-hosts Whoopi then addressed the protesters, saying,
Ladies, excuse us. Let us do our job. Let us do our job. We hear what you have to say, but you gotta go.
How many people think that the reason the show cut Morgan Freeman short was because they didn't want this event to happen again? On the other hand, some say that there was a darker motive. Apparently, the producers were afraid that Morgan would bring up a topic that goes against the agenda being pushed by the important people. But why is this relevant? Morgan has been one of Kamala Harris's biggest supporters.
I anticipate that every Democrat who was kvetching is going to stand behind her. I am trusting that we're not going to have a problem here.
In addition, the women in The View frequently back her cause and shield her from criticism. J.D. Vance recently made headlines for remarks he made about childless cat ladies that were later found to be true. Many saw these comments as a direct criticism of women who decide not to have children.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too.
After Harris said she was vying for the Democratic presidential candidacy, Vance's comments from a July 2021 Fox News interview, during which he was seeking Ohio's U.S. Senate seat, came to light again this week. He explained further, saying, "It's just a basic fact you look at." Kamala Harris, Peter Buttigieg, Alexandria topped court tease. People without children control the Democratic Party's total future. If we want a healthy ruling class in this country, we should invest more, vote more, and support more people who are parents because they are the ones who will ultimately have a bigger direct stake in the country. The junior senator from Ohio, Vance, was chosen last week to be the running partner of former President Trump in the 2024 presidential contest. Democrats have brought up Vance's views on abortion and IVF since he announced in 2022 that he would support Trump's decision to let states decide on the subject. He was one of the Senate Republicans who voted in June to block legislation that would have protected access to IVF. Whoopi Goldberg was quick to respond to these comments, saying,
There are people who have chosen not to have children for whatever reason. There are people who want to have children who cannot. How dare you? You never had a baby.
In any event, there have been several scandals and political ploys during Kamala Harris's path to the vice presidency. Kamala Harris started her work as a district attorney in the Alama County office before being appointed to the San Francisco district attorney position in 2003.
You know, before I was elected as vice president, before I was elected as United States Senator, I was the elected Attorney General, as I've mentioned, of California. Before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor.
She supported a number of tough-on-crime policies during her time because she thought they would lower crime rates and improve public safety. But these policies have come under fire because they disproportionately affect Black and marginalized groups. Her tough position on truancy was one of the things that Harris's time as a district attorney was most criticized for. While the goal of the policy was to ensure that children attended school, Harris introduced a policy that prosecuted parents of children who were chronically absent from school, saying that regular attendance was crucial for a child's future success. This resulted in punitive measures against families, many of whom were dealing with systemic problems like poverty, racism, and lack of resources. Critics contend that this approach further criminalized already vulnerable families rather than addressing the underlying causes of absenteeism. Harris also came under fire for her advocacy of California's 3 strikes law, which stipulated life in prison for offenders found guilty of 3 or more major felonies. Opponents argue that this law unfairly impacted Latino and Black communities, resulting in mass incarceration and family dissolution. As California's Attorney General, Harris's support for such a draconian approach has long been viewed, which has led to doubts about her dedication to criminal justice reform. Harris went on with his policies, drawing condemnation from the civil rights advocates under her leadership from 2011 to 2017, made choices and implemented laws that, although meant to enforce the law, frequently had negative effects on Black neighborhoods in spite of growing public outcry over police brutality and the need for change. It was thought that Harris wasn't doing enough to deal with these problems. She came under fire for opposing statewide efforts to require police officers to wear body cameras and to designate special prosecutors to look into incidents involving police killings. Her office's battle to protect the state's authority to employ jail labor, claiming that it was important for preserving the state's workforce, was another divisive stance. This position caused a lot of criticism because it was perceived as continuing Black people have suffered systemic injustices from the police and legal system for generations. Critics of a system that exploited those behind bars, many of whom were Black, saw this as a support of modern-day slavery, further eroding trust among those who had already suffered under the criminal justice system. Many others view Harris's track record as a prosecutor as a component of this system, casting doubt on her capacity to fight for the reforms needed to solve these pervasive problems. Due to Kamala Harris's past experiences as a prosecutor, the Black community holds her in low regard. Many believe that her policies have led to the mass incarceration and criminalization of Black people, rather than treating the underlying causes of crime, such as poverty and a lack of education. Kamala, for one thing, Harris's private life has been controversial. There have been claims that Harris had an affair with a married guy to get her start. Willie Brown, a politician from California.
Well, every time that someone tried to interject the truth about Kamala, which is that she slept her way to the top, it's a fact. She was with some 6-year-old man, got her start in the political career, and they would go, oh my gosh, how dare you say this, that's so sexist.
The relationship started in 1994 and stopped sometime the following year. Brown, who was the Speaker of the California Assembly at the time, was allegedly divorced from his wife when he and Harris started dating. Harris was a lawyer in the Alama County District Attorney's Office. Brown gave political friends favoritism positions, such as Harris, who was appointed to 2 board positions with large salaries. In today's currency, Harris was paid $130,000 annually for her 2 monthly meetings of the medical boards and another post for which she lacked any qualifications. On her Sirius XM show, Kelly mentioned that Brown acknowledged that he had assisted her in landing the part of DA, even though she was still having an affair. Kelly also stated that Brown was attempting to set the foundation for her political future. Freeman's candor has cost him dearly in the past, as you can see from the complex web of Hollywood. The powerful people with whom he has previously spoken have made multiple attempts to silence him. Some ardent followers of the legendary actor Morgan Freeman think that the business intentionally tried to frame him for context when he became caught in a web of issues during the course of his multi-decade career. An attorney for the man who allegedly and Morgan Freeman's step-granddaughter Adina Hines apparently claimed in court that Hines told him that she and Freeman had an inappropriate relationship, an accusation both Freeman and Hines had previously vehemently dismissed in a statement in 2012. Freeman said, according to TMZ, the recent reports of any pending marriage or romantic relationship of me to anyone are defamatory fabrications from the tabloid media meant to sell papers. What is even more alarming is that these fabrications are now being picked up by the legitimate press, as well. The late Hines agreed in her own statement per TMZ, "These stories about me and my grandpa are not only untrue, they are also hurtful to me and my family," she said. The man charged with Unal living Hindis was recognized as Lamar Davenport. The suspect was charged with second-degree murder after officials say he stabbed Hines more than a dozen times outside their Washington Heights apartment. On August 16, 2015, she was found lying in the street outside her home at 3 a.m. and was taken to a local hospital where she was pronounced dead. Hines' mother was Freeman's stepdaughter before he adopted her, and Hines' grandma is his first wife. Hines' mother enrolled in a graduate acting degree at New York University from 2008 to 2011, and the play debuted in 2017, with the prosecution saying the Unal lifestyle was deliberate. Davenport's defense team claimed that the temperature was high at the time, that Davenport was suffering from a doctor-induced psychosis, and that he was therefore not accountable for his actions. In addition, Freeman has been accused of sexual assault before, during the Me Too movement that shook Hollywood in 2017 and 2018, which uncovered and exposed the improper and illegal actions of powerful men. According to CNN, 2 women accused Freeman of acting in an impolite and violent way. A production assistant on Freeman's 2015 film, Going in Style, claimed that the actor touched, rubbed, and made comments about her appearance and clothing nearly every day. The helper also claimed that Freeman kept trying to lift her skirt. The actor's actions reportedly stopped only after co-star Ellen Aaron told Freeman to stop. CNN also revealed that a production assistant for the 2012 movie, Now You See Maine, had supposedly written an essay about herself as a female assistant. However, it was revealed that all of these claims were made to discredit him, and he still apologized to anyone who felt uncomfortable or insulted. Additionally, according to ABC7 New York, Freeman replied to the accusations with a 10-page letter written by his lawyer, demanding a retraction from CNN and calling the news outlets reporting a product of malicious purpose, falsehoods, sleight of hand, absence of V, and journalistic malpractice. A day later, he told ABC News that the story had devastated him and added that it is not appropriate to associate horrifying incidents of SA with misplaced compliments or comedy. Ultimately, whether you agree with Freeman or not, his worries about Kamala Harris are worth taking into consideration as we navigate these turbulent times. It's important to listen to diverse perspectives and participate in meaningful dialogue about the future of our country. That's it for this video, folks. Bye. A year and a half after the actor and CNN fell out, the cable network hired Freeman to narrate a movie for parent company Warner Media's investor presentation. Some believed that this was the network's attempt to appease the actor.